Camilla secretly took Prince George to destroy William and faced instant regret publicly. It started with a knock, light, hesitant, but heavy enough to shatter the peace inside Kensington Palace. One of the head servants, pale as chalk, stood outside Kate's bedroom door, voice trembling as she delivered the words that would haunt the royal family forever. Prince George is not in his room. The sentence sliced through Kate like a blade. She bolted upright, eyes wide, heart thudding in her chest. Before the servant could say another word, Kate was already running barefoot through the halls, her nightgown flowing like a ghost behind her. William wasn't far behind. The commotion jolted him out of his room, and the second he saw Kate's face, he knew something was terribly wrong. They stormed into George's bedroom together. The window was open, the sheets tangled and cold, and the wire-tangled window. His toy car lay tipped over near the rug, his favorite, like it had been dropped mid-say. But the boy himself? Gone. William didn't hesitate. Seal the palace, lock every gate. Nobody in, nobody out, he barked, his voice steady, but his face a storm of fear. Security teams mobilized in seconds. Radios buzzed, boots pounded marble floors, and by sunrise, the entire UK was holding its breath, but behind those walls, a darker current was already swirling. Because while the public assumed this was a kidnapping, a tragic, random act, the truth was far more twisted. Camilla, dressed in her usual silk and sipping wine in a quiet corner of the palace, already knew where George was. She wasn't panicked. She wasn't shocked. In fact, she looked pleased. The kind of quiet satisfaction that only comes from watching a plan unfold exactly as intended. You see, this wasn't about George. Not really. He was just the symbol, the golden heir, the public sweetheart, the future king in every headline. And to Camilla, that made him the perfect pawn. Just the night before, Camilla had overheard a private conversation between King Charles and William. The words weren't meant for her ears, but they hit like a punch to the chest. Charles, exhausted and aged, had finally said it out loud. "It's time. You're the future William, the throne will be yours." And with that one sentence, Camilla's decades of quiet maneuvering evaporated into nothing. She had worked tirelessly to build her place in the monarchy, endured the headlines, the mockery, the comparison to Diana, and now all of it was being handed over to the golden couple and their perfect son. So she snapped. She didn't need to say much, just a quiet word to one of her old allies still working behind the scenes. A door left unlocked, a window unlatched, a shadow moving through the mist before sunrise. George was gone before anyone knew what hit them. Not harmed, not hurt, just removed. Enough to start a storm. And it worked. Within hours, tabloids lit up like fireworks. Prince George vanishes. Palace on lockdown. Where is the heir? The nation panicked. The world watched. But inside the palace, William was falling apart. He wasn't just a father. He was the future king, now defending himself against rumors he didn't even understand. Some whispered he'd driven George away. Others claimed the boy had been forced to flee. Kate couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. She sat by the window every night, staring into the garden like George might reappear from the mist. Her eyes swollen from crying, her voice hollow every time she asked the same question: why would someone do this to a child? But deep down, William was starting to understand. This wasn't about the child. It was about the crown. And someone very close was trying to make sure it never reached his head. While the palace spiraled into controlled chaos, Camilla vanished. No public appearances, no official statements, not even a glimpse through the tinted windows of royal cars. She had retreated to Edinburgh, cloaked in silence, while the media scrambled to connect dots that weren't yet visible. But one person wasn't buying the official story, or the silence. Rachel Wong had been covering royal affairs for over a decade, and she knew better than to chase headlines. She chased the truth. And this stunk of orchestration. So she packed a bag, called in a few old favors, and boarded a train to Scotland. Meanwhile, inside Kensington, the tension hit a breaking point. Kate refused food. Her staff, unable to comfort her, simply hovered like ghosts. William stopped sleeping. His phone buzzed non-stop, but he answered no calls. All his time went into meetings, security briefings, advisor council, desperate interviews with every staffer who had been on duty. Billed nothing, cameras caught nothing. The one angle that mattered had gone dark for exactly 15 minutes. 15 minutes, that's all it took. Outside the gates, the storm brewed louder. Social media had split down the middle. One half believed William had become an authoritarian parent, molding George into a symbol, not a boy. The other half saw it as a takedown, an insider plot to ruin the future king's reputation. Both sides were equally loud. Protesters showed up with signs reading "Free the Prince," while others waved portraits of William demanding the truth. And in the middle of this madness, Rachel was digging. At a quiet hotel in Edinburgh, she met with a former Clarence House employee, discreet, nervous, but holding a folder thick with notes. Rachel flipped through it, marked emails, transcripts, diary scribbles, all with one consistent thread. Camilla, the employee, a woman in her 50s, whispered like every word might be her last. She was angry after Charles' decision, started making calls, moving funds, speaking in codes. One night she said, "If they want George to shine so brightly, I'll make that light flicker." Rachel didn't flinch. She'd heard worse. But the deeper she went, the clearer the picture became. A fund Lancaster Trust, once used to boost Camilla's public image, was suddenly active again. Money moved quietly to several media entities. PR firms, social monitoring groups, even a minor publication that first ran the letter accusing William of abusing his role as a father. Rachel connected the final dot 2 days later, a blurry clip from a former aide's phone. Camilla, pacing in her private drawing room, snapped, "Release the letter now. The moment they panic, the public turns. William won't know what hit him." It wasn't perfect footage, but the voice, the words, the intent, it was all there. Rachel had what she needed. Back at Kensington, William stared blankly at his screen. The footage Rachel sent played on loop, his jaw clenched. It wasn't shock anymore. It was clarity. Camilla had tried to destroy him, not just as a father, but as the future monarch. Kate stood behind him, eyes wide but calm for the first time in days. "What do we do now?" she asked quietly. William didn't blink. "We show the world what she did." He picked up the phone and made one call, not to a palace advisor, not to security, but to the press office. "I want a press conference," he said, voice low and unshaking. "Live, no filters, no delay. It's time for the truth." Kensington Palace transformed into a media battleground. The Grand Hall, once a symbol of composure and protocol, now buzzed with tension. Reporters filled every row, camera lights bouncing off the polished floors, microphones angled like spears. The atmosphere was electric, like history was about to crack open. William stood behind the podium, flanked by the royal crest, his face pale but steady. Kate sat in the front row, her fingers tightly interlocked, next to Princess Anne, who didn't flinch, didn't blink. She had seen power twist people before, but never this close to home. "I'm not here to explain rumors," William began, voice sharp. "I'm here to reveal facts." The screen behind him lit up, first emails, then payment records, then that blurry but damning video of Camilla. Her voice filled the room. "Release the letter now." The moment they panic, the public turned. Gasps filled the room. Shutters clicked furiously. Some reporters stood, stunned. Others scribbled as fast as they could. William let it all settle, then added, "This was not a mistake. It was a targeted strike against me, against my son, and against the future of this nation's monarchy." Suddenly, the heavy wooden doors flung open. Camilla stepped in, dressed immaculately in navy, her face caked in foundation, but nothing could hide the strain. Her eyes darted toward the video, still frozen on screen, her own face staring back. "This is a fabrication," she barked. "That clip is faked, deep faked. You all know what AI can do these days. I would never harm my grandson." William didn't flinch. "That's your voice, your words, and the money trail matches your timeline perfectly. Tell me, why does Lancaster Trust resurface just before this storm? Why do those funds end up in the pockets of the people who first spread the lies?" Camilla tried to respond, but her words tangled. 1,000 lenses zoomed in on her trembling mouth. The silence was deafening. Outside, social media was already on fire. Hashtags like Camilla exposed and Justice for George exploded across every platform. Live streams of the conference peaked in the millions. Every network aired it raw and uninterrupted. And then the final blow. A surprise BBC broadcast aired hours later without fanfare. A simple room, no logos, no soft music, just George. He sat beside Princess Anne, back straight, hair neatly combed, eyes mature beyond his 12 years. I know people are worried, he said, voice steady, but my father has never scared me. I love him. I've never been forced to do anything wrong. I just want to be a kid. There was no script, no dramatic pauses, just raw truth. Within minutes, the clip went viral. It was replayed on every channel, every phone, every headline. George speaks. The prince breaks silence. Truth from a child. Camilla disappeared from the public eye. No statements, no denials, just absence. Clarence House shuttered her office. Her aides were let go. And then the king spoke. Charles, visibly shaken, addressed the nation. Anyone who undermines the dignity of this monarchy for personal gain will find no protection under my name. He never mentioned Camilla. He didn't have to. The palace confirmed she would withdraw from all public duties indefinitely. A few days later, she was spotted leaving Clarence House in the back of a dark car. Alone, meanwhile, the royal family slowly stepped back into the light. A photo surfaced, William, Kate, and George at a summer camp, mud on their shoes, laughter in the air. No thrones, no cameras, just a family. Rachel Wong asked in her final interview what drove her through the chaos, simply said, because no child deserves to be collateral in a battle for power. Truth, once buried, had risen again, and this time it spoke with the quiet strength of a boy who just wanted to go home.